Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 12th of August 2019. Today we are going to have a look at the default pools configuration, and then we are going to have a look at some trades. So let's have a look at the default configuration of pools. I'm going to reset everything and explain the default settings. So the default setting, the most important one is to start off with is multiple instances. This should be set to false, and this is because if it's set to true, then you might have an instance running on one chart that's opening trades and another instance running on another chart that's closing trades. So this will create confusion for you and for pools. So I recommend that you put this to false, then it'll always ensure that only one instance is running. We have maximum risk. I like to put this low, so 0.1%. Okay, this is the value that I like. This enables me to put multiple trades on at a given level and still be within my risk parameters, which is super important. Okay, so 0.1%. Lot size, I leave this standard because I'm focusing on the maximum risk. Positions per pair, you can put this maybe to 3. Okay, and this is going to open 3 trades per currency pair. We'll put this to 2 actually. Keep it simple. And then we have multiple positions per currency. We can put this on, for example, 12. And I'm going to make it make the default for pools contain this information. Okay, and so you just open pools, you press reset, and then all of these parameters will be set. Distance between, we want this to be 10. Then it's going to be 10 pips between each position, which is what we want to see. Okay, and then this value here, time frame, this should be set to current. Okay, and so this means that it's going to be looking at the time frame that pools is attached to. Now, apologize, there's some building going on here, so there's a little bit of knocking in the background. My apologies for that. Enable trend, leave this to false. I'm working on new functionality that will be put in here, which would be good. Positive swaps only, I like this set to true, and I put this at about, I don't know, maybe -5 or -10. If it's -5, then it's going to be looking at very small negative values. So if you're buying an asset and you are going to collect interest every day, this is going to be good. And even if you're going to be paying a little bit every day, as long as it's quite small, then it's okay. But you don't want to be paying a lot of interest every day, okay? Because sometimes you're forced to hold positions while they're maturing, and this can get kind of expensive. So keep this to a relative small number. If you don't want any negative positions, you simply put this to 0, okay? But I leave this on about -5. Minus stops. Yes, we want this to be set to true. Stop multiplier is 5, and the reason I like this, in contrast to trading without stops, is that the stop is so far away from the entry that the likelihood of it getting hit is pretty low. But if we have a market crash and we're in bed and we're not in front of the computer, I mean, isn't it just nice to know that you'll be taken out of that trade and lose 0.1% per trade than your account just going into major drawdown? I would rather take a little loss so I can sleep at night, and I go to bed with a calm stomach. Not having stops just kind of makes me a little bit nervous, because these days we have the potential for a lot of volatility in the US, in China, in the UK, all over Europe, and so I think there's political unrest, and so you just want to be mitigating risk in one way or another. I use stop lots. You can hedge, you can do whatever you want, but as long as you're mitigating risk, this is the primary thing. Okay, stop multiplier, this is set to 5, so 5 times the size of the area of supply or demand. Enable targets, this is set to 2, so 2 times the size, so the stop is bigger than the target, and that's because we have our emergency stop. So the likelihood of price hitting this is pretty small, unless we have like a big market spike. Okay, but we want it in there, and these are our small targets that we like to harvest. Okay, and we have risk to reward, this is set to 2, and the price and balance period is set to 6. I just leave that, that's a pretty decent setting. Allow multiple tests. I'd leave this on false for the time being. This is, for example, this area just here, you can see it was tested once. If you set this to true, then the robot is going to allow it to be tested one more time, and it'll stay valid until price moves above it. But essentially we want to be taking the first test. Accumulation departure strength, put this to the lowest value, so minus, micro minus. Number of periods till expiration, I like 20, so 20 periods, whatever that may be, 20 days, 20 hours, whatever. And enable deep zones. I like this a lot because, let me show you. So the robot is going to be looking at this. So I'm sure it found this just here, and it said yes, we like this, but it says I want to start selling once price moves through this area. And so it's going to put, instead of having the entry here like that, it's going to move it and say, okay, well, where does the rectangle end? And it ends here, so it's going to start selling up here like that. Okay, and this is kind of, we've discussed this many times, this is where price has not been back yet. You can see the beginning of the sell zone starts there, and this is in the middle of where this area of supply is. And so will price stop here? No, I don't think it will. Why not? Because we had this area, let me clear this up. So we had this area here which is tested once, twice. This would be the third test. We want to be looking higher, and above this high of this supply is good. So I'll be pretty pleased about leaving that like so. Okay, good. So enable deep zone just wants the market to move to the extreme prices before we get involved in the market. A really nice setting. You're going to miss out on a few trades, but you'll also find that you'll see the big reactions at the deep end of the zone. Okay, and here we have just like the visual stuff, which is not so important. Okay, good. So I think I'll leave it at that, and just to let you know what it looks like. I mean, you press enable trade, and it'll open these trades for us. Actually, this one won't, because the swaps are swap short. So if we put this to, for example, swap 7, -7, okay, done, did it. So now it's putting it here. So you can see that the entry is below, rather halfway through this area of supply, which has been tested once or twice. The stop is above this swing high, and so this just looks okay, I think, for the time being. Okay, and so this is what I want to see. And the methodology for using this, I've been over this many times in many previous videos, but once it's done that, then I'll disable it. I'll go to the next pair, which is the Aussie US dollar, and I'll see, well, let's have a look. What's it doing? And I'll let it do its analysis. And it says, well, it wants to trade here. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, and so we can see here that we have a low, high, and it's looking at this accumulation candle. See how price went down, departed, came back. On the small time frame, price came up, the slingshot was pulled back, and then it left. So entry, otherwise it would be the low of this accumulation. If the deep zone was set to false, we can do that quickly. It'll be set to the bottom of this white candle. Let's zoom in so we can see. So if we go put it to where's deep zones? Yeah, so we set this to false, it'll move down to here. There, you see? But I want it above that. I mean, here we had accumulation, sideways price movement. I want to be where the slingshot was pulled back to before we left. So we'll do that quickly. There was deep zones. Yes, please. We'll turn that on, and it's going to go back up here. Come on, 3, 2, 1. Good. So it's going to put it like that. You can see this is a pretty big stop. So that's a very big emergency stop. But looking at this, you see we have we had price has been back to this area before. So if we mark off, I mean, this area here, you see it's been tested once. Price came deep, deep, we went through it, so there's no supply until we get up to here. So this is where the discretion comes in. We have our trend line. Okay, market structure failed. The area of supply that did that is just here. Okay, and so we're probably going to get a bounce here, some kind of reaction in here, but I prefer this because of all this price movement in this area, which is essentially consuming liquidity. Okay, and also we have this move here, from here down to here. The origin of this move is here, so we should refrain from trading stuff here and focus on the origin. Once price starts moving higher, on the origin, so areas of supply in close to the origin, okay, or in the leg that this whole price structure here is hanging on, which brings our attention to above here. The beginning of the sell zone starts here, not down here. So if we have a look on the bigger time frame, I mean, the robot certainly wants to go higher, and that's fine, but you can see that we're reacting at monthly demand. What does that mean? That means careful selling. Okay, we're reacting at monthly demand. If we have a look, there's a lot of monthly demand down there, and price is kind of like moving sideways, and price is really low on the Australian dollar. Okay, we have a lot of price moving in here, and for this one here in particular, if we mark this off, and we had this area here, price tested it, we tested it, and then it left. We have a price that's been back to this level here, which is the beginning of the sell zone, and I like this because this is still untested, this area in here. This is precisely what the robot was thinking as well. So I'm gonna allow it to do that. So I just say flick it on, and it puts them both on there for us. Okay, and so we'll leave it at that. I think there's a pretty good likelihood that those will fill. At the same time, I'm doing what I just said we shouldn't do, and I'll just reiterate that. We have a move, origin, it's where price is now. Actually, no, this is okay because this is on the leg down, but keep in mind that this is 50% retracement, this is 75, and this is 25. I mean, this is about 30, maybe 40 or so percent, 38% retracement just around here. So this is probably close to about as shallow as you want it. Let's try with the fibs. I don't use fibs a whole lot, but we'll just do it for fun. Yes, it's pretty close to 38%, as I just said. So this might be an interesting place to have a look for an initial test. Okay, so we'll leave that in there. But this is pretty much how I'm using pools, and these are the settings that I'm liking quite a lot. I'll just put that up there one last time. I'll make sure we get everything in there. We don't need to focus so much on the colors, but you can see there. Okay, so we have these ones here. These are the important ones right there. Okay, so you can pause that, take a screenshot and do it, or you can wait a little while. Once I've uploaded the new version, I'll put it out on the announcement channel, and then you will be aware of that. I'm also going to push out an update to the supply and demand software as well, because the core of both of these has changed just a little bit here. I'd had a bit of time while on this holiday to do some programming, and I had a look at some of the stuff there. So that's done now, and I'll push those out here within the coming days. Cool, good. So let's get on to the charts. Let's start with the pound. What's going on in the pound? Wow, there's a lot going on in the pound. We have all of this talk about no deal in the UK as a result of Brexit. If that happens, it could go either way. It could maybe, I think maybe the US would like that, because that would bring England or Britain closer to America, in contrast to if there's some kind of a trade deal with Europe, this will maybe hold the UK away from, or rather put Europe between the UK and America. So a no deal would be good for America, and a deal would maybe be good for Europe. and less good for the US. So this can kind of go anywhere, but notice how far down we are. We're really pushing lower here. I don't have any more data historically to look at, so I can't I can't look at the price data beyond that. But we're approaching these lows, and this is pretty interesting. We have, what do we have? We have the beginning of the buy zone is here. We had the origin. This is the deepest pullback since then. Price is kind of moving through it ever so carefully. We have our trend line. The trend line that we can draw goes like that. This is a clear trend line. Okay, but if we try to draw some trend lines on the bottom here that fit, it's kind of difficult to do. So what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing this. So we're having supply, we'll just mark off the whole thing, is forming above price. That's not so good if you're looking to buy, okay, because this is happening above price. So we have selling. This is a very clear sign of selling, and you can see that we had a test back the slingshot. We had this moved away. The area of accumulation was here, so we had the low. So this is the slingshot was pulled back here. Sorry, not here, but here. Here we mark off the low, and price is having a pretty easy time. The market's having a really easy time moving through that, and so yeah, I'd be very careful buying. I really want to buy because it's so low, but because of the geopolitical situation, I'm just a little bit nervous about it. Also, the swaps are rewarding shorts and punishing longs quite a lot, and so I just be really careful. Keep in mind we are getting into this very deep monthly area of demand. So if we mark off the low, then go to the small time frames, we can wait for some kind of a confirmation where we have price moving into an area here, and then we have some supply that is formed, move away from it, demand forming, and then price moving through that supply. That would give me confidence, well, more confidence. But for the time being, I'd be really careful about buying this. Okay, so just be super careful. Even though it's really low, it's really attractive, it's still very high risk for the time being because we have no idea what's going to happen. Okay, so just be very careful. So for the time being, you want to be selling, but you can't really sell either because we're really low. So once price moves below here, this support or this area of demand, well, then I think that this area of supply would be interesting to sell, because then I think it's going to continue to move lower until it finds some historical levels back here to the left. But for the time being, until this is gone, I'd wait. So I wouldn't. There's nothing to do here on the pound. So we have a look at the euro. Let's just remove these. Okay, so let's go here on the monthly. What's going on here? Well, we have. What do we have? Well, we do have market structure from here to here. It's failed, but we did not remove this area of supply. Sorry, that's not right, because we have a more recent one here. So from here, let me zoom in. First mark from here to here. Okay, into this area of supply, price broke. Now price has not been back, and the software is telling us nicely where it is. It's just here. Okay, so certainly look to sell once price comes there, because we don't really have any demand here, because nothing didn't take this out, but we had quite a lot of selling just here. So this is very powerful. This is just a result of, we had 2, 3, 4 months of distribution up here, so an accumulation of positions to move price lower. We moved away. Now we're kind of just moving around. We're kind of feeding in. This is probably like 6 month or 12 month demand in here. It's not even demand, it's just accumulation. So price is kind of sitting on there, and you can see we're having a bit of a move away, but there's no supply here. There's absolutely no supply here, so be careful selling anywhere. You see this, these candles, the bodies of these candles are pretty much within the range of all of them, so these are all kind of linked together on the monthly chart. this is the clear breakaway. So shorts of the 121.72 be interesting. I'd be happier if price would have gone below here, but it didn't, and so it's like this is a kind of a higher risk one. But for the time being, this is what we're at. If we look at the weekly chart, we can do the same thing over. I mean, this is just like really horrible. There's nothing going on here. You can see there's something, it's waiting for something. There's a lot of talks and signs of recession ahead. The interest rates are being cut, or slowly going to be cut, probably multiple times before the end of the year, which is not good for, or rather which will cause flows to leave the American dollar and move into paired currencies such as, for example, the euro. But the euro is not a good place either. 85% of the German economy is underwater, and so I mean it's difficult. So I'd rather have dollars than I would have euros for the time being. But looking at this price chart, if we just look what we can see here, you can see that when we have a clear breakaway here, the software's marked it off, but there's nothing really to do. But what we can see, we go to the daily chart, we had high, low, like this. And what's happening here? Well, it looks like that we're trying to remove this. Okay, so we'd had an area of supply here. Oops. Which has been tested once, twice, and now price is kind of gnawing on the child. We have a really messy child here. Okay, so price is poking into it. We're kind of going into a wedge, which you can see on the small time frames, where price is looking to pop like that. And when that happens, it normally continues in the direction of the move prior, so up. Okay, so we can expect price maybe to wriggle higher. Maybe test the edge of this area here, which has been tested a couple of times, and essentially up to here. And we do have kind of a micro parent-child relationship in here, which you can see. You see the sell zone is here, and we had the big dump. But you could start from here, which is pretty much at the lows of these bodies of accumulation candles. But if you want to be on the safe side, then maybe look to sell, scale in, starting here, and then moving up like that, okay, through the area. So getting a better price each time price is moving a little bit deeper into this area of supply. Yeah, but just wait. What do we have here? Let's see if price manages to move above here. Then we have an upward sloping trend line. We have a downward sloping which has been broken there that fixed that for us, is down here. So we'll remove that and put this on. So it's actually here. And because this one is not in the range of the previous, I would feel more comfortable doing this, like that. Okay, so the 110.68-ish area, I think that'd be a pretty interesting place to buy. If we go to the hourly chart, I think we're going to find some more areas within that. Yeah, and you can see that. I mean, we have this little area here, so you could drop it down to there, or you could just drop it down to around here, just above this whole price nodule, and go back to the daily. That's what we're looking at. So that would be an interesting place to buy at about the 110.50 area. But we want this to be gone. We want price to form some full body candles above this market structure, the trend line that we're using, which it probably has done. Maybe if I adjust my trend line, come on, like that. Yeah, it's pretty close. We want to see a good push away. So close above this area of accumulation would confirm that we want to be moving along, moving higher, and this being removed would be great, and then a pull back into here before it continues higher would be lovely. Okay, so that's what we have for the time being. If we have a look on the small time frames, let's have a look on the 15-minute chart, because I know a lot of you guys are looking there. Okay, let's start at the hourly and see what's going on. So what do we have? Well, we have price form is low. We're kind of wriggling north, so there's no demand here. The first bit of demand we see is down here. Okay, the beginning of the buy zone is here. So this is where we're going to start to maybe attract some buyers. But the 111.50, or better yet, let's have a look on the 4 hour. Yeah, I really don't like this at all, and I really wouldn't be keen on buying anywhere. You see, we had this one here that kind of went through it on the release, so that brings the entry down here. So we have a bit of a deep zone, which maybe looks something like this. And then we have a child below it. We can just mark that off like this. Okay, so we have these. Let me just put a 4-hour one there, like that. So we have that. Yeah, but price is looking to go push a little bit higher, but we want to move through this area here. You can see, like on the smaller time frames, how price is pretty messy. You go to the daily chart, it's just a lot clearer. So I recommend that you start on the daily or the weekly, and then move down from there. Okay, so if we have a quick look here, what do we have? We'll probably have a little bit of a bounce here, more so here, but these are all linked together, so you want to look below these, which brings our attention to this little one here. So we had see price come down here, we rallied, accumulated, rallied, and price didn't manage to come all the way back. So this would be an interesting little something in here. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at now. But longer term, I think we're going to be moving through this with not so much resistance, because there's not a lot going on here. We have this which has been tested. We have this one which has been tested. These are just like levels testing levels, because you want to look above and find fresh ones. And we have something up here, this one up here, and then ultimately the origin of this entire move. And so for the time being, we can see what happens, but we've got market structure breaking down, which is giving us a sign that we're going to be drifting higher. So let's just keep an eye on that. Let's try the dollar CAD. Oops, wrong thingy. Here, dollar CAD. What do we have here? Okay, what do we have here? We have market structure has failed here to here. The origin of this entire move comes from here. We have a wick down here, which is testing this. And we have this down here. So for the time being, matter of fact, we can draw here high, low, lower high, lower low. So we do have this. Oops. Like that. Okay, this is not taken out yet. This is not demand. Why? Because it did not take out any supply. So this is nothing. This looks like a nice test. You see how price rallied. We poked above these highs. We kind of cleared the road. We had this pullback, pin bar, and then price wriggled higher. So this is interesting, the 125.37. I think that's pretty cool. And lower. Once that is rebalanced, well, then we have to move beyond the lows here, down to here. And this is kind of where the beginning of the buy zone happens here. But once this, you could have a closer look once the price gets here. Let's go to small time frames because we're still pretty far up. Here's lots of zones, testing zones, zone, test. We went through the child here, rally, accumulation, rally. We had a child and a parent here. Price tested the parent, went deeper the next time, went to the child here, went to the parent. Now it's moving higher, lower. We had trend line here, messy one. It's broken. There's supply that did is this one. Been tested. I mean, you could certainly have another look at that because we had a really nice push away. Price rallied, and we just dumped down here, taking out these lows here. So there's something in here. Okay, so you could certainly look to begin to short this. So just wait until price gets up there and then see what happens. Go to the smaller time frame. You can see actually that we have child. This is a parent. This is just kind of like a continuation pattern here. This is price testing the beginning of the sell zone, and it held. So this is, above these highs here and up here would be nice. We have this pretty interesting daily area just here. Our price kind of wriggled around. It poked up into this area up here. this accumulation candle, this monthly supply, then it cut away. So this is interesting. This one just up here, the, let's see, the 130, about the 13500 area. So price is wriggling up. It's not very clear. You can see that the market's waiting on something. And that's what's kind of making me nervous. There's no clear stuff going on at the moment for many of the currencies. Let's have a look on the 4-hour chart. Here we had this area of supply which was almost tested. Okay, we have this one here, but it's kind of testing this one here. So I'd feel more inclined on looking here to sell. We have this one here which almost got filled. We might have missed that just here, and now price is kind of digging low. That's a pretty big retreat, a pretty quick retreat. If you zoom in, I mean, once this is gone, and it's time to look for areas of supply, because we do have market structure. It failed. What area did it? This one here. Has price been back there? No, it tried to. It kind of got to the bottom of this entire this apex here, and then it retreated from there. But I'd say if a price pushes up to here after having removed this, that'd be a pretty interesting place to sell. Places to buy. Let's have a look. We could watch out for. I mean, here we had price moving up, trading sideways a lot, and then releasing higher. So if you look here, I mean, here we have this area here. It's not beautiful, but price pulled back and then it darted north. So there's something in here. There's buyers in here, and we have something else like down here. How we had this accumulation candle. Slingshot was pulled back and then it rallied north. So around here. Okay, and below that we have this one. So we have 3 areas we can look at. This one, and this one here. So keep your eyes on those. Let's have a look at the dollar Swiss franc monthly. Yeah, not a lot going on. So we do have this. Okay, there's supply that caused market structure to fail is here. Almost been tested. Price is moving away. Low, high, high, low, high, high. We can even make a sharper one here on the weekly chart like that. So we do have market breaking down the dollar, showing signs of weakness in relation to the franc. Now it's drifting lower. Notice that we had this area of weekly demand. Price tested it, went almost all the way through it, and then this is where we released from. So what else do we have? Well, we have this one just below it, just here. So this is not within the range of the previous. This is. So it looked like this, about like that, like this. So the 0.9540 area, which is where this bounced. This might be interesting. It was one test. So keep your eyes on that. Let's have a look on the really shorter term and see what's going on. Ooh, got to download that data. So, what's this? Let me remove everything. Boom. There we are. Fresh. Okay, maybe this is just something that's just like starting to form now. So weekly demand. No, there's not enough data. I think it's referring to this one here. It's just like the historical data is not there. Yeah, it's referring to this one here. Price has moved almost all the way through it, so careful buying. We do have, see, I like this. We have a high, low, high, low, high, high. Price broke away. Price also removed. Oops, label. What am I doing here? So we had this here. Okay, the price kind of sat on it. It's pretty much gone. So in the smaller time frames, there's going to be some. Yeah, here we see lots of stuff here. We have this one here, which has been tested. Should price come a little bit further north, then I would be on the eyeballs for this one here. Why this one? Because price has already been back to this one. It's been balanced. This is kind of messy. We have this one here, which is kind of small, and this one here we have accumulation, price left. We moved back up into the air. The slingshot was pulled back, and then it moved it lower. Okay, and this one is responsible for moving below this low, which was where the slingshot was pulled back for this move higher here. Okay, so we had something in here as well, and it's gone. So the 98.80 to 99, I think it looks like a pretty interesting area just up here. Goody. Let's have a look at the Kiwi American dollar. You know, let's find something that's not paired with the dollar. The euro yen. Okay, what do we have here? What's going on here? Well, we have, that's not very clear here. So we have this, which looks pretty good. Move to the edge of the buy zone there. Getting close to it, almost about the 115 area. So be interesting to look to buy at its area here. There's not a whole lot of clarity here. Let's zoom in a little. No, it's just a lot of price just kind of wriggling sideways on the weekly chart. However, we can see that we have high, low. So we do have a weekly downtrend. We have supply driving price. And how do we know? Well, we have the solid boxes above price and the dotted below price. So we have this area of weekly demand. It was tested, now we're moving closer to it. So you could have another stab at that if you want. That would be high risk. This is the high risk, this is the low risk, and following tests to this area make it slightly more higher risk. Okay, so you could look there and focus on the edge of the buy zone, which would be the deepest the deepest pullback into this area of weekly demand. You can see there's a lot of buying here, price gapped up. So I think you could look down here around the one. Let's have a look. Let me mark it off like this. I think that's good enough. Like the 115.80-ish area. And this one goes down to the 114.80. So about 100 pip gap there you could kind of scale in throughout this entire area here. But notice here for the shorter term, guys, we have this nice push away. We move below here. See, this was turned gray after this candle closed. If we have a look on the daily chart, what we have there, and price tried to move back up there. What's going on? Wrong thing again. Come on. Here. So price came up to here. And there's something up here. So there's something around here. Let's have a look on the 4-hour. Yeah, so you can see it here. So price kind of left. We pulled the slingshot back and then it dumped. We moved sideways and then we dumped. Price tested that. We have not moved below this, so we're probably going to move higher. We had the beginning of the buy zone, this area. It was here before. Price came to it, went a little bit deeper, so it got closer and closer, and then eventually it said, well, bugger this, let's just go to the origin, and that's down here. You can see this candle left, the pullback, the slingshot was pulled back to the edge right there of accumulation. It left from there. So now we're pretty deep into this area here. Let's have a look on the hourly and maybe we can find a better price. Yep, we have our better price right here. Okay, so about the it's pretty small, 117.90-ish area, including the spread, probably around here. Okay, so that's a pretty interesting area. For the time being, price is kind of not really moving away quickly. So I think if we advertise cheaper prices, then price would certainly move lower and then see some some pushes higher. But this is a really nice area. I mean, look at that big cutaway, messing around, a quick push to attract some buyers. So we're trying to find pull some buyers into the market. We found those down here, moved into the opposing side of the market. So we're kind of between these two areas here. That's what we have there. A few areas to watch. Let me do the Aussie yen as the final one. Monthly, what's going on? wow, we're having a tough time moving below here, aren't we? If you see here, you can see we're having a really tough time moving along there. And if we zoom in, you can see that it's this one here. The area, let's let it update. Good. It's the area that we want to buy at. Oops, I'm going to remove that, and then we're just going to do this. It's right here. Hope you can see why I chose this level. It's because this candle closed above this accumulation. The deepest retracement is here. That's where you want to buy. Didn't get there, didn't get there. We're patient, we're patient. Did it pay off? It did eventually. It paid off and it moved up, and now it's coming down to it again. So you want to be looking to buy at the most expensive area here. Okay, so when we have a lot of like downward price movement, let's go to the weekly to find those here and now trend lines. So we have these rectangles below price. There's nothing, sorry, we have the rectangles above price. We have nothing below price besides the one we just drew. And so when the price comes down here, we're going to start attracting buyers, because that's a pretty attractive place to buy. Interest rate differentials. It's not really the carry trade anymore, but it's green. So we do have maybe a trend line from here down to here. Okay, so the best thing to do before I say anything else, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to go on the daily chart. Go here. Okay, and so we want to see what's going to happen here. This could be like a push accumulation to drive price lower, cumulative orders to drive price lower. But what would be really nice is if we manage to move sideways, poke into this area here. So let me see if I can draw. So poke into this area here, a little bit deeper, draw, move sideways, move above here, and then go like this. Okay, and then we'd be essentially looking to buy a demand that caused this trend line, the market structure, to fail, and we took out this stuff here, or this mess here, and this is a pretty nice area here as well. So if we manage to take that out, but this is really far away from price obviously, but we want price to come lower. It hasn't formed a base yet. It's just consuming liquidity. It's poking, it's having a go. We're painting white candles, which means that we're moving sideways. It means that we're still kind of distributing liquidity around this area, but I'd want price to come down here to the 70-35 area before I got on board. So yes, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. If we have a look on the smaller time frames, I mean, price has moved pretty fast. We're pretty low. We're a little bit too low to sell, and so the no-brainer would be to buy. Okay, but you want to wait until we kind of poke into this area here, because this is where the release happened here. Okay, and here. So wait till price moves to at least the 70.35, and I think we'll probably try and attract some buyers, but we'll see. We've also formed this really nice top here, so I don't know. I mean, this pattern kind of like, we have like the head, if you're into that kind of stuff. I'm not, but yeah, we have the shoulder, the head, right shoulder, and price is moving. And I don't really have any information as to the price down here. So, but yeah, look in here, wait and see what happens. There's plenty of, you could trade this all day long on the smaller time frame. So by all means, do that and have fun. Cool. I think I'll leave it at that. Was 3/4 of an hour. I hope I helped to answer your question, Eric, relating to the settings for pools. I'll push out the update for pools and supply and demand software in the coming days, and I will make the defaults for pools spot on. Okay, and then I think we'll be good to go, and I'll publish an announcement on the announcement channel, and I'm hoping that'll be useful for you. I just published a new blog post. I've been writing a lot of these days. This one here, price action liquidity, the economy and cycles. This is maybe interesting. This talked a little about price action, and something that kind of made me a very firm believer of supply and demand. And this is while I was doing the security work with the banks, and there's like a conversation here that you should read. It's quite funny, and it just simply tells the tale of how I was introduced to these limit orders, supply and demand. Okay, so have a look at that. Maybe it's interesting to you. Yeah, and keep your questions flowing. You have any questions? I'm absolutely thrilled to get to them. Just put them in the general discussions room in the chat server, and that's that. Thanks for watching.